Aimee Rae Beaulieu was born on June 22, 1972, to John Beaulieu and Judy Rowe. By 19, she lived near Nelson, British Columbia, and was a devoted mother to 11-month-old twins, David and Samantha. Known as strong-willed and fiery, Aimee was determined to build a better life for her children. In 1990, trapped in a troubled relationship, she made the brave decision to leave her partner while he was away. With help from friends, she moved into a trailer in Klein's Trailer Park, ready to start over. But on April 4, 1992, tragedy struck when her trailer erupted in flames. First responders arrived to find smoke pouring from the home, and firefighter Jamie Spence heroically rescued both twins, but neither survived. At first, police thought the fire accidental, but Aimee's friend Teresa Coates insisted she never smoked in bed. Within days, investigators discovered Aimee had been strangled before the fire was set, confirming it was arson meant to cover murder. Though many suspected her ex-partner, no one was charged. The loss shattered the Nelson community, inspiring the creation of the Aimee Beaulieu Transition House in 1995, which has since sheltered thousands of women and children fleeing abuse. Her case also led to routine smoke alarm checks by the Nelson Fire Department. More than 30 years later, Aimee and her twins' murders remain unsolved, but her name lives on as a symbol of courage and protection. Scott Allen Kleeschulte was born on April 12, 1979, in St. Charles, Missouri. A bright, curious boy, he loved exploring the woods near his home with his siblings. On June 8, 1988, the last day of first grade, Scott came home from school, changed clothes, and went out to play. His sister saw him on a nearby hill just before a violent thunderstorm swept through the area. When his parents returned home, he was missing. At first, they believed he had taken shelter with a friend, but after hours of searching, they called police. What followed became one of the largest child searches in Missouri history. Hundreds scoured woods, creeks, and storm drains, while bloodhounds traced Scott's scent toward a nearby construction site before losing it. Despite weeks of effort, no trace of him was found. 2 years later, the murders of 2 boys in the same area fueled fears of a serial predator, but that crime was later solved and proven unrelated. Over the decades, investigators pursued leads, including suspected child abductor Michael Devlin, yet every trail went cold. In 2011, police reopened the case and searched a nearby property using cadaver dogs and ground-penetrating radar, but nothing surfaced. Today, Scott's parents still live in the same home, refusing to give up hope. More than 3 decades later, the mystery of what happened to the little boy who vanished during a storm remains unsolved. Shelley Cameron Morgan was born on February 2, 1950, in Iowa. A gifted artist and costume designer, she moved to England after marriage and had 2 children. In 1984, while preparing to restart her design career, she balanced motherhood with caring for her autistic son. On June 11th of that year, Shelley dropped off her children at school and went to photograph and sketch near the Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol. She never returned. 4 months later, children playing near Backwell Hill discovered her remains. She had been stabbed repeatedly in a brutal, sexually motivated attack. Her camera, carpet bag, and clothing were missing, likely kept as trophies. Despite an extensive investigation, no suspect was ever identified. Years later, police linked 2 postcards of local scenes, believed connected to her missing camera, to the case, suggesting the killer may have kept them. Detectives suspect convicted murderer Christopher Hampton, who killed teenager Melanie Rode 2 days before Shelley disappeared, and may also have been behind similar unsolved murders in the region. All victims were women attacked in areas where Hampton had worked. Though justice for Shelley has never been achieved, her story continues to haunt Bristol and stands as a reminder of the countless women whose killers walk free. Charlene McVeigh, known as Sherlyn, was a spirited 13-year-old growing up in Columbus, Ohio, in the early 1990s. Her childhood had been difficult. Her parents struggled with mental illness, forcing her into the foster care system. By 1991, she lived with a minister and his family on the city's east side and attended Johnson Park Middle School. On December 3, 1991, after being dropped off from school, she was last seen near the Columbus Public Library and Barnett Recreation Center. 2 days later, her body was found in a backyard only 4 blocks from her foster home. She had been beaten and strangled. The brutality of the crime shocked investigators, but despite interviews and cooperation from her foster family, no arrests were made. Her case received minimal media attention, overshadowed by larger stories of the time, and gradually faded from public memory. It was briefly revisited in 2015, yet remains unsolved. Sherlin's death highlights the tragedy of forgotten victims, young lives lost without justice or acknowledgement, and the need to remember those whose stories never made headlines. Tracy Marie Crowe was born on April 16, 1972, in Millersburg, Pennsylvania. A responsible, kind-hearted 17-year-old, she was known for her academic achievements and quiet nature. On August 5, 1989, she drove to her sister's trailer park to drop off a grill and coupons but found no one home. She left the items on the porch and headed back, but never arrived. The next day, her parents realized she was missing, and police soon found her 1971 Mercury Comet abandoned in Millersburg's town square. Witnesses saw a girl resembling Tracy sitting nearby that evening, but there were no further leads. 4 years later, fragments of her wallet and ID surfaced near a creek 9 miles away, reigniting the investigation. Over time, various suspects emerged, including a former boyfriend, but none were charged. In 2019, a man named Matthew Webster was convicted of perjury after lying about his knowledge of the case, and another witness faced similar charges. Then, in 2022, police named 89-year-old Mark Eugene Warfel, a man with a violent criminal history and ties to Tracy's family, as a suspect. He was later deemed mentally unfit for trial due to dementia. Despite extensive searches of his property, no evidence of Tracy was found. Authorities believe she was abducted by someone she knew. More than 30 years on, her family continues to seek closure. Their pain deepened by decades of unanswered questions. Each of these stories, Aimee, Scott, Shelley, Sherlin, and Tracy, reveals more than tragedy. They represent resilience, community, and the unending fight for justice. Though time passes and evidence fades, their names endure through the people and programs built in their memory. These unresolved cases remind us that behind every file number is a family still waiting, a community still hoping, and lives that deserve to be remembered.